What's good, people? Sitting here on Thanksgiving, and I went and had our whole little family gathering. Sure the fuck didn't follow none of these dumbass illogical rules. Let me start with that. Okay, this video, I want to do a review, and I want to talk and bring to light a couple of other factors to this season coming up. Okay, the mind programming, this social media, mainstream media, music industry, schooling, they're all by design to engineer what we are. This is the way they socially condition, they psychologically condition us to be who and what we are. With that being said, I want to draw light to a CDC article that was back in July of 2020. And then I want to bring light to this new movie coming out on Netflix. At first, it was supposed to come out 2020, right here in December of 2020 around Christmas. But now they pushed it off till 2021. Now, I'm going to break down these two. Let me start. This movie is called Songbird. And I'm going to play a piece of this trailer just so people can get an idea of what I'm talking about. Dumbass commercials.
At Metro, we know you work hard. That's why switching to Metro isn't. Because this season there's zero.
Okay.
Good morning, Miss Garcia.
Good morning, Sunshine. I miss you. I could kiss you right now.
Sunday.
Curfew is now in effect. All unauthorized citizens must stay indoors.
Tensions rise as we enter the 213th week of lockdown.
Grim new reality emerges.
COVID-23 has mutated.
Beginning thermal scan. Thermal scan normal.
A horrifying new development today.
Confirms the virus attacks the brain tissue.
Whoa! I'm immune!
Worldwide death toll rises to over 110 million.
All infected Americans are being forced into quarantine camps. Here.
Sarah, what's going on?
Department of Sanitation. Sarah, talk to me.
I think my neighbor has a fever.
It'll be so much easier if you just open the door. Mrs. Grant, you have visitors.
Beginning thermal scan. 3, 2, 1. Anomaly detected. Or you will be shut on site. This is not.
You're in there.
To let you go.
Sarah, I'm not letting you give up.
This is not.
We have to do things we don't want to survive.
I'm trying to save the one person left in my life that matters to me.
I can't help you. What you're talking about is illegal.
Stay safe, sane, and sanitized.
Now, realize what that was, what that is, what that's intended to be. This is to spread fear. This is called predictive programming. And look, my phone listening, and I didn't even press the. My phone's locked, and that Siri bitch be still talking and listening. Now, with that said, let me explain something to you. That movie, how was that movie already made? You could tell that high production went into that movie. Why was that movie? Like, why would someone want to, and they blatantly say it in there, COVID-23. So this is supposed to be the mutated version. Now, we're coming into the second season of this shit. This movie's about to come out. Now, I want to read you an article from the CDC, what they are recommending. And this is the actual, if I can get it on there, the CDC website. Now I'm just going to read bits and pieces of the paragraphs, the title, and then the paragraphs. Okay. It says, operational consideration for humanitarian settings. Notice the words they use. They're using certain words for certain psychological reactions, psychological conditioning factors. Okay? Consideration. Humanitarian. Now let me explain to you what this is. I'm going to read the first paragraph that's under the title, Operation Consideration for Humanitarian Settings. And it was in July 26th of 2020, after the first bad wave of the flu, but I'll get into that here in a minute. This document presents consideration from the perspective of the U.S. Centers for Disease and Control and Prevention for implementing the shielding approach in humanitarian settings as outlines and guidance documents focused on the camps, displaced population, and low resource settings. Do you get what what they just said there? Camps, displaced population, and low resource settings, saying the ones that are depending on the government. And this is what they're doing. They're depleting the middle class into lower class right now. They're killing the economy. I mean, hundreds of thousands of small businesses are closed. Millions and millions are going unemployed. So these are the low resources. Now let's get into the displacements, displaced population, and camps. I'll explain what is shielding approach. The shielding approach aims to reduce the number of severe COVID-19 cases by limiting contact between individuals at high risk of developing severe diseases, those are high risk, and the general population, which are low risk. High-risk individuals would be temporarily relocated to safe or green zones established at households, neighborhoods, camps, sectors, or community level depending on the context and settings. They would have minimal contact with family members and other low-risk residents. So their shielding approach is going to be to come into homes and divide them. Take high risk. So if you've got heart disease, you're high risk. If you have diabetes, you're high risk. You got arthritis, you're high risk. If you got COPD, you're high risk. If you got high blood pressure, you're high risk. So they're going to take all these high risks and they're going to put them in. And now I'm going to explain the levels that they're going to go through. Level 1 is household level. A specific room, area, designated for high-risk individuals who are physically isolated from other household members and their movement and interactions that are allowed. Low-risk household members should not enter the green zone. So the green zone they're referring to, you take one room in your house and you tape that shit off, and that's the green zone. That's where the high-risk person's allowed to be at, right? If entry is necessary, it should be done only by healthy individuals after washing hands and using face covering. Interaction should be at a safe distance, approximately 2 meters. Minimum movement of high-risk individuals outside of the green zone, or minimal movement of high-risk individuals outside of the green zone. Low-risk household members should continue to follow social distancing and hygiene practices outside of the house. That's level 1, the household setting. Now, level 2, this is the neighborhood level. The neighborhood setting consists of a designated shelter / group of shelters, and in parentheses, max 5 to 10 households within a small camp or area where high-risk members are grouped together. Neighbors swap households to accommodate high-risk individuals. So what they're saying, they're going to put people, they're going to take 10 homes in one area, and that's the isolated camp. Then they're going to take people that are high risk and put them in a house together, while the low risk people, that the high risk people's family that are low risk will be living with other low risk families. So they're displacing and they're dividing us into these camps, into these risk levels. This is their intentions. So that's the neighborhood level. Now, level 3. This is the camp and sector level. Consists of a group of shelters such as schools, community buildings within a camp sector, in parentheses, max 50 high-risk individuals per single green zone, in parentheses, where high-risk individuals are physically isolated together. Their movements and interactions allowed. There's one entry point is used for exchanging of food, supplies, etc. A meeting area is used for residents and visitors to interact while practicing physical distancing, 2 meters. No movement into or outside of the green zone. So what they're saying, they're going to take a place like, let's say, for hypothetically speaking, Walmart, which is their plans. A Walmart can be turned into a quarantine camp, a concentration camp. A camp is the term they use by the CDC, camps or sectors. So they'll take a Walmart, and it's nuts, man. They're blatantly saying this shit. And there'll be no physical contact. It's going to be a quarantine / concentration camp. This is their intentions. Then you look at the fucking previews for that Songbird, and they're blatantly, predictively programming, subliminally in your fucking minds to accept this as normal. And for what? This is where I've been questioning. I've been asking these questions since before this fucking pandemic, scamdemic, about viruses. And even if you address the test they're using, a PCR test, the creator, Kerry Mullis, there's videos of this, of interviews of him saying this test does not identify any form of a virus or any form of a disease. All this test is doing is taking a little bit of something and making it a lot of bit of something. They're amplifying it. They're magnifying it. That's all they're fucking doing and looking at natural material. The way he explained it in one of the interviews, he said, if you take a bunch of apples and you put like something that looks like an apple within the other apples, you could mistake that as an apple. This is what it's like looking deep into microbiology, into the blood. You cannot differentiate, and this is the question I've been asking people. I've shared multiple pictures, and the actual microscopic pictures of what they're visually seeing under the microscope, not their theorized models, which is always what you see across the fucking news. It's theorized models. It is not based on scientific fucking proven studies and facts. It's based off of theories. taking conspiracy theories to a whole nother fucking level. And the people that are putting blind faith in these narratives that are being pumped by the mainstream, they're the ones calling the people questioning things conspiracy theorists. When it's truly them that are the conspiracy theorists. But they're indoctrinated by this machine to believe it's true. So their beliefs lead them to have blind faith. And blind faith leads to needless suffering. And for what's all this pandemic for? A virus. This is what they're calling it. Well, do this research, do this study, look at the microscopic pictures of all the different viruses, not their models. Look at the fucking microscopic pictures. Look this shit up. And don't be confused when you see the microscopic pictures, ones that are orange and ones that are purple and ones that are blue. All those are as light filters. Take the fucking color out of it, make them all black and white, and then answer the question. Because they do that color filter shit to confuse, to trick. I want you to look up SARS. I want you to look up MERS. I want you to look up Zika virus. I want you to look up influenza. I want you to look up the common cold. I want you to look up COVID-19. I want you to look up whatever other virus you can think of. Look at their pictures, screenshot their pictures, and make a collage of all these. And then look up all those different viruses and put in antibody. Look up the antibody to those viruses. What they're physically seeing, the microscopic pictures, look them up. And then look up exosome cells. And then look up extracellular vessels. Because all of them. I've asked multiple fucking MDs and RNs. I've been asking for over a year and a half, 2 years now, specifically for these RN and MDs to line me up with one of their colleagues that specializes in any of the microbiology, the immunology, the epidemiology, the virology. Line me up with them and have them answer this question for me. And I've had one microbiologist, I don't even recall his name, but I had one microbiologist finally comment on it because one of my friends was friends with somebody, and that was a microbiologist, and they tagged him on my post, and there was no names to it, but I just did a collage of all those different ones. I think there was like 12 different pictures of the different viruses, the viruses' antibodies, and then a picture of exosome cells, and then pictures of extracellular vessels. And there was no labels to them, so you didn't know by the labels. And I asked them to differentiate, and you tell me which are which. And the microbiologist told me I'm right. I mean, he told me I'm right by the emoji, the shrug emoji. And my interpretation of that is, I don't know. And then he said, you are not wrong. So my point being, since this new flu season is coming around, have you not noticed no fucking flu? Or if a person's got the flu, they'll lump it in with they have COVID too. But they can't tell you the actual physically. They'll tell you, and that's my point about all these viruses, how they've been classifying them and giving them names since the creation of them, is not based off scientific evidence. It's been based off of biological symptoms, the area that these biological symptoms took place, or an animal. And it's all a bunch of half-truths. It's all a bunch of reverse psychology. They'll feed you a little bit of truth, and then they'll feed you a bunch of fucking bullshit. This is by design. This is how they are able to get blind faith in the masses. So now, are we going to fucking wake up? Because what's coming down the pipeline, their plans and their intentions, You can look at the things I just fucking named off with that Songbird fucking preview trailer coming out early 2021. That's a fucking month, 2 months away. It could already be out. They were scheduled it for like this next month. And then you got like the CDC after the first wave hit. They know the second wave is coming because it's every fucking year. So they got this operation consideration humanitarian settings where they're going to come in homes. They're going to make us go to different places. They're going to go to these little neighborhoods, or they're going to make you stay in your house, or they're going to send you to a camp. It's all these different well-planned variables. That's what they operate on. It's well-planned variables. All this fucking circus of entertainment with the politics and Black Lives Matters, Blue Lives Matters, Gay Lives Matters. It's Republican, Democrat, conservative, liberal. It's gay, straight, black, white. This is all divide and conquer. They keep us divided. They don't allow for us. Hence, that if you watch any of the fucking news, you notice everything is drama. Everything is drama. They have psychologically conditioned society, the populace's minds, to fuel on drama. It's in the music. It's in the movies. It's in the news. It's on social media. That's the normal. It's normal for a 3-4-year-old sitting in the living room with their parents, siblings, and on TV, the news is fucking playing. Talking about a little girl being raped and murdered, or sex, drugs, violence, war, death. And it's all intentional. It's time to wake up. I get tired of having to say this shit. But everywhere I go out here, man, 3 out of 4 people got fucking masks on. Like, I can't name the countless times I'll go in any fucking where without a fucking mask. Fuck your mask. I ain't putting no mask on. I understand biology. I've been studying this shit for a better part of a decade now. And I understand how viruses work, what viruses are, what they're identifying, who created the test that they're fucking falsely using. It's a bunch of reverse psychology, and it's because of blind faith. As I always say when I speak on blind faith, don't put blind faith in none of these establishments. Don't put blind faith in what I'm telling you. Look, I tell you this information to plant seeds in your head. It's like me handing you a tool. If I hand you a hammer, that's a useless fucking hammer unless you use the fucking hammer. Use your fucking head. Look into these things I'm telling you about. Ask these fucking questions and ask these questions until you get the answer to it. Because they don't want you to do that. And that's across the board, like I said, with establishments. I mean, the medical establishment, the music industry, schools, religion, government. We're given a cognitive fucking brain to ask questions for a reason. Why would we not do that? That's right, because they deem you crazy. You're a conspiracy theorist. It's demonization. And the thing is, the greatest minds in history have all been deemed crazy before they were called geniuses, before they actually made huge fucking changes. Girls, Prada, Onyx, chill out. But my point here, we're coming on to this next season. They have intentions. If we do not blindly follow in suit, if we do not blindly follow their rules, if we actually have the courage to go against their narratives, to ask questions. Hey, girls, go. Get out of here. Go. if we do not go against illogical rules, and that's the part that scares me the most. Me, everywhere I go, it's like I'm the only one without a mask. But I've had multiple times that I'm sitting in the gas station parking lot, and before I go in, I look over, I look around, I'm seeing people in their vehicles, I see people in the store. I'll get out, and people will watch me. I've watched them watch me walk into the gas station without a mask. And then I'll walk out and I'll have all the things I went in for. And then I'll get in my car. I'll get in my car, sit there for a minute, and they will get out and they'll go in without a mask. They'll see that I went in, I did my thing, and that's all people need are examples. Lead by example. Have the fucking courage. Because what's the most they can tell you? No, you need a mask. And then even then, if you're fucking wise and you understand the stipulations behind them saying mandatory and the laws that protect us, you tell them you have a medical exemption. You can't wear a mask. And they say, what is that? If you got one that's a smart ass, then you tell them you need to look up the HIPAA law. Because if they push the subject of what your medical exemption is, you could have a lawsuit. You would have a lawsuit. They would have a lawsuit on their hands that you will win. This is why none of the businesses push the shit. You'll have more people that are customers feeling like they stuck with this muzzle, I call them face diapers, with these face diapers on, and they feel like they're forced. I have to wear one. You have to wear one. Bullshit. You wear one because you're fucking ignorant. And when I say ignorant, I don't mean stupid. I mean ignorant like you lack the knowledge. That's all ignorance is. Now, when you understand the laws and you still go by their illogical rules anyways, that blind faith in the system, that I've got faith in them, this is why I'm following their rules, then you're stupid. That's when it's no longer ignorance. You know, and you still do it. Because those masks are more harmful. Let me explain something about these exosome cells. And this is all a virus is. And I've got multiple videos breaking this down, but I'm going to break it down again anyways. Okay, what they're identifying as a virus, what a virus really is, how they're created, and how to prevent them. Okay, the human body has white blood cells, right? Well, these white blood cells, they create something called exosome cells. And they're also known as extracellular vessels. These white blood cells create these cells for the sole purpose of absorbing foreign particles, toxins and solvents and things that the body notices and says, this ain't supposed to be here. There's nothing beneficial about this. We got to get this out. So these exosome cells created by the white blood cells, this is what they identify under a microscope. This is what they call a virus. This is what they call an antibody. This cell absorbs the foreign particles that's not supposed to be there. It becomes contaminated. Now, this cell is going to mutate. 100% fact, it's going to mutate into one of two things. The determining factor is the bacterial environment around it. The bacterial environment it has to feed off of is what it determines what it mutates into. Okay, if you consume a hydrogen-rich diet, an alkaline diet, the food you eat, the raw fruits, the raw vegetables, the nuts, the legumes, herbs, and spices, this food, when it goes in through I can't speak today. When it's going through our digestive tract, it ferments these foods into bacteria. Now, when we have hydrogen-rich food coming in, it creates a hydrogen-rich bacteria. This bacteria is called prebiotics and probiotics. Prebiotics is what feeds the probiotics. So when prebiotics and probiotics is the bacterial environment that's around a contaminated exosome cell, then this exosome cell is going to mutate into an antibody. An exosome cell is RNA, genetic material. These are the terms that they've been spitting a lot through the mainstream, RNA creating DNA. Okay, what I just explained to you about the bacteria and the mutation and the contamination, this is RNA creating DNA. This is our body creating antibodies and gaining immunity against that particular particle, because it basically teaches and encodes the blueprint inside of that tiny exosome cell into our DNA. So after we create an antibody out of the bacterial environment, the probiotics and prebiotics, our pancreas then knows how to create the proteolytic enzymes, which are also antibiotics, which are also antibodies, not antibiotics. That's a whole nother fucking reverse psychology that kills off all the bacteria. Now that's how antibodies are created. This is how we gain immunity against foreign particles that contaminate our body. Now our problem is, and this is the biggest red flag for me within the mainstream media, the social media, the government, the medical establishments, something they're not addressing is our highly acidic diet. Now, this is what a virus is. This is how a virus is created. This is how we prevent it. Because our problem is we eat a highly acidic diet. Our Western diet is highly acidic. We lack the energy in it, and we lack the hydrogen and the oxygen. We lack even drinking basic water. But we eat shit like meats and cheeses and breads and sugars, which all of it is acidity. All I just mentioned, and alcohol, and that creates a bacteria. We eat that. It creates a bacteria that's an acidic bacteria. It's called Candida albicans. Now, if Candida albicans is the bacterial environment around this contaminated exosome cell, then it eats that bacteria, that acidity, and it says, hey, this ain't what we need, and it turns this contaminated cell, exosome cell, into a virus. And this virus flows around our bodily fluids, and it eats up foreign particles, it eats up acidic properties, and it compromises our mucous membrane. The mucous membrane is compromised, and it coats this virus. As this virus is flowing around, eating up all this eating up all this foreign material that ain't supposed to be there. So the virus is created to protect us. And when this virus and the mucous membrane is compromised, this is when our biological symptoms kick in. This is when we get the effects of being sick, and our temperature rises, or fluids build up in our lungs, or phlegm builds up in our throat, snot builds up in our nose, even down to a cut, and you get an infection in it. Pus builds up in it. This is all compromising of the mucous membrane. And this, we sweat it out. This is our body's way of putting us into a fast. Because if you notice, when you're sick, you don't care for food. You don't want to eat no solid foods. Because if you eat it, your stomach says, no, we cannot process this bullshit right now. Get this shit the fuck out of us. We're still resetting. And you notice when you're sick, you get dehydrated. And this is because the body's using up that hydrogen to flush and take this shit out of you. So you got to replenish the hydrogen. This is what a virus is. The virus is created by the host. And this is what masks are doing, really. Because the fact of the matter is, it doesn't matter how long you wear a mask or how much you hide or how much you sanitize. Because the fact of the matter is, if you do not change the bacterial conditioning of your fucking body, you are still prone and always will be prone to receiving particles out of the air, particles in your food, particles in your water, particles absorbed to your skin, and you're going to become sick. Your body is going to create viruses. Now, what they're teaching, a virus is contagious. A virus is not contagious. Particles are contagious because you can cough out, but as soon as you cough out and that exosome cell has been mutated into a virus, it no longer has its incubating conditions. So it no longer ceases to have any form of life to it. Because either fucking way, a virus is not alive, but it still sustains electrons. It still contains, I guess, in a form, it's a life, but it's not alive. And that's my point. Even if you were sick and you went into someone's house without a mask, didn't sanitize, and you coughed, and that little droplet had that exosome cell on and it floated around and it landed on a doorknob. And then somebody within that house goes over and they grab the doorknob and they twist it and it just happens to end up on the tip of their finger. And then that some way, shape, or form, say they're eating and they put it in their mouth. That's still not alive. Yes, you can get a blueprint of what that was. But the fact of the matter is, if you have a good bacterial environment, your body ain't going to be, you ain't going to catch no virus. You're going to create an antibody. That's what your body is going to do because it has the resources. Unlike someone sick, that is going to, and that's the thing, an antibody can still make a person sick. It will be less because, see, that's the thing is, the blueprint is constantly shifting and changing. So just because you are contracted, and that's the thing I'm trying to explain to people, we're looking in the wrong direction for the root cause. The root cause, I'm telling you, is in these fucking chemtrails. They're smoking, they're dropping in our air. They're clouding our skies. We breathe this shit in. And notice what the COVID-19 is. It's all respiratory. But now it's everything. But when it started, it was respiratory. And that's normally the symptoms that they classify before they started using Carrie Mullis's test. And that's the thing. Carrie Mullis died in August of 2019. Right before the main big spread happened over in China. And then it made its way here. And then all of a sudden, Carrie Mullis ain't here to defend his legacy of the PCR test and explain and break down. You can't identify a virus with this. He's no longer here to do that. So they started using this test. And that's where I can't fucking wrap my head around how people are not fucking seeing this and noticing it. And noticing how they're fucking us over. They're inducing fear for no reason. And they're not addressing the root causes. It's because it's our health system, our government is lobbied. They protect special interests of the elite corporations. This is why you see shit like the FDA, the CDC, the EPA, all passing these different toxins and bullshit into our food and our water and our air. I mean, it's because those same elite corporations, through paper trails, control the food corporations that mass distribute all this malnutrition, this refined, this processed, this preserved foods that have no nutritional properties to it. They don't have the essential elements that balances our homeostasis, that creates mitochondria, that has enzymes in it, that has nutritional properties, the minerals that we need to rebuild cellular structure. They're not teaching us that if you don't drink water, you cannot create mitochondria, or even what mitochondria is, Or how water, we're 3/4 water. We're taught this in school, but we're not taught the significance of why we should be drinking water. Because water consists of 2 hydrogen and 1 oxygen, right? The 2 hydrogen, those hydrogen molecules is what creates plasma. That's what creates the environment in our cardiovascular system, the environment for our cells to do their jobs. Red cells are useless if they do not have the energy, electrons, and the oxygen stemming from water in our breathing. Because that is what mitochondria is. It takes a red blood cell that is unproductive. It's like a negative charge cell. And then once it gets energized and it gets oxygenated, it creates a productive cell, positively charged. That's when this cell can address places that need repair, which would be negatively charged places. And this is like the magnetics to our duality of our body. The positive charge mitochondria, negative charge dead place that's got CO2, that's got dead cell, used up mineral. These charges pull together, and when they click, that red cell then turns negative. It takes out the CO2, it gives it oxygen, it takes out the dead cell, the used up minerals, and it gives it the new minerals. And this is how that energy creates the new cell. And then that cell that was positive charged is now negatively charged and heading back to get rid of it. Heading back to our lungs to breathe out that carbon dioxide. Heading back to the digestive system to get it out through our shit or through our blood. Or, I mean, it's... Oh, man. The well runs deep. But it's simplistic. Once you get it, once you understand it, it's like, how are others not catching on to this? Because you shouldn't fear the virus. You should fear your lifestyle. You should fear your diet. You should fear your daily activities, because this is all the creation of these viruses. I mean, they're not teaching us that fear creates cortisol, and cortisol, when it's created, puts us in a fight or flight mode, where our body is no longer being productive internally. It is using all of its oxygen externally. And this is why it's called fight or flight, because it's like, it's out here in the real world. We're going to use all of our fucking energy in the creation of adrenaline and cortisol to amp us up to either fight something or to run from something. Hence why it's called fight or flight. But when we're in that fear state and we're watching the news and they're like, don't go to Christmas or Thanksgiving, social distance yourself, sanitize everything, wear a mask in your house. This puts us in a fear state, especially people with pre-existing conditions, that their body's already showing signs and symptoms of imbalancements and malnutritions and toxicity and shit that they're not addressing. When you go to the fucking hospital and sick, they say, oh, you got these biological symptoms. We're gonna match this synthetic chemical, is what my book says. This protocol says for me to do this. They don't ask about your lifestyle. They don't ask how much you're exposed to sun. They don't ask how much water you do drink. They don't ask how much live fruits and vegetables do you eat. They're not running blood work to see if you're deficient or malnutrition in certain minerals or vitamins. These are all red flags that I've been noticing for fucking years and years now. And it's like nobody wants to focus on it. They call you conspiracy theorists if you speak on these things. And it drives me nuts because I've got multiple people that are sick in my family. I mean, from cancers to diseases to the COVID. And it's like, it's frustrating, but at the same time, I can't push this knowledge onto anybody, because I've learned over the years that you can't force somebody to learn something if they're not wanting to learn it. You can't force them. It's that old saying, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. That's it. It's like they still got blind faith in the establishments. They still got blind faith in the system, like they have their best interest at heart, because that's what we're indoctrinated to believe. Any other narrative is that's not going to work. If that worked, they would be doing that. They don't have no ill will against me. They don't have an interest in it. They want to make me better. Not saying some of them don't, but I'm saying what they have been indoctrinated into, they might believe it. I've known ones that left the industry because they knew what it was. They noticed the fucking same flaws that I speak on, and they left. They either started to change directions of their studies, or they started their own practice. It's like we have to start changing. We have to start changing our approaches to this shit. We got to start asking questions, and we got to stop putting blind faith in these establishments. Because the fact of the matter is, they profit. We're all subliminally enslaved to a life of labor, debt, and sickness. And it's like, I don't know. I feel like I've ranted long enough. But the point is here, be prepared for this next season because they've got intentions. And hopefully people take it serious. Because it's only when enough people start asking questions and we start realizing that we've got a lot more in common than we do different, as Maya Angelou once said, that is when we start focusing on our likeness, that we unify, and then we can start creating solutions. But while we keep playing into the blind faith deal in our government, we're going to continue to be their puppets. They're going to continue to control us. As I say in all my videos, knowledge is key. Your health is your foundation. Your beliefs are your success. And your wisdom is your power. Stop sleeping on your God-given ability. Ask questions. Ask and you shall receive. That's the only way we change these things. Because it's not until we have the same collective focus that we make a collective change. I love you guys. I hope all had a blessed Thanksgiving. And remember, knowledge is the key. Your health is your foundation. Your beliefs are your success. And your wisdom is your power. Love you all.